Go, we've got an engagement. My opponent's using a lot of flamethrowers, so I've got to get those tanks up front. I've decided to go for some crushes.
Battle control initialized.
Hello there, comrades and cannon fodder. It's Dvoid here. I've got a 1v1 multiplayer game on Overkill map. I'm using France for this game, and my opponent's using Ukraine. This is a fairly recent map. I like this one. Yeah, I'm using France, and I normally have a light blue colour when I use France, but because my opponent's using this kind of purpley blue colour, sort of close to lilac colour, purple, light purple, I thought my usual blue for France was a bit too close to that colour, so I switched to my secondary green colour. As long as I've got 3 colours, I'm fine. First engagement, and my opponent has turned back. It was the right choice, but he could easily have won that. And he's delayed placing a refinery. There's his engineer, he's going for that oil derrick. There's mine, I've nearly got it halfway captured. Yeah, my opponent's still, I'm a bit close to his base, he's just taken out a few rifles there. That's not good. My opponent's got 14 rifles, I've got 9. And it looks like it's a point where I'm not training anymore at the moment. So I've decided to group what rifles I can together. I've still got this rifleman here in case he sends an engineer to capture that. But he hasn't, he's captured this one and he's going for this, which is the right choice because he's won an engagement here, so he's in control of that. So it's the right choice to capture it now while he can. I've moved up enough to protect my engineer, I'm not going any further. Nearly got the next oil derrick there. Yeah, I've fallen back to use the view range of the oil derrick because, you know, I'm not risking an attack, and it was the right choice because my enemy's stronger here. Not for long, but at the moment, it looks like he's going for this oil derrick. No, not with the engineer, not yet anyway. Got some rocket troops training, I've got 4. Yes, he is going for that one. Let's see what happens here. If it goes around this way and he's not going to be happy. Yes, I caught him out. That was a perfect position. I've got my light tank up front, so that's changed the situation there, and I've lost it. That's not good. I won the engagement, but I probably don't know by how much, and I've lost my scout vehicle. I've saved the veteran though. Yeah, my opponent's got a stronger force here again, so I'm falling back, keeping my engineer close, falling back again. There's a fake structure. When I use France, I place fake structures so that if the enemy attacks my base, the first structures they will come across are going to be fake. So if he comes through here, yeah, he can attack all trucks, but he'll see a fake power plant first. If he attacks from the bottom, he'll see these, or from this way, you know, there's a real one, and even from the front there's a fake power plant, but it's just to give you extra time and warning, plus so he's wasting his time attacking them. And your units can also be positioned behind your structures, and fake ones, just like normal structures, they don't give you as much view range, but they give you some, and I'm using a ranger to snipe at my opponent. And my opponent can't see because the ranger gives you excellent amount of view range. It can see a good distance. Look, that's view range from the Ranger, that is. From this vehicle here. And it can carry 1 infantryman, so it's useful for the Allies for transporting your engineer around the map to oil derricks and stuff. The Soviets obviously have got the APC, which I prefer, but the Allies, they do have 1 space in a Ranger, in their Rangers, to place an infantryman. So it could be Tanya, or an engineer, or a spy, whatever. But it comes in handy, and it wasn't in the original. I don't think you can put any infantry in the Rangers in the original Red Alert. That's an Openra feature. Well, I've got my expansion on the go, so's my opponent. So it looks like we're moving in the same direction, going for the same patches. Yeah, we've got our refineries at the same time. Army values 9,000 to 11,000 in my opponent's favour. Now, my opponent's got a couple of APCs there. Let's see, check the production and see if that's what he's actually... No, he's not. No. I've got an engagement and he's got APCs, but I am falling back. He's got a nice chunk of infantry there. My opponent's not following. Interesting. But he's got a larger army by a couple of grand. But I brought my MCV up for support straight away and backed off because I thought I'm not engaging, you know, just standard army against army. I may as well bring the assets with me, the required elements, and have the advantage. My opponent's mined out that first ore patch. I pretty much have as well, almost, but I've sent my eco transfer. My ore trucks are transferred to the expansion. Look, there's my engineer, and I'm using the Ranger as a guard unit because they uncover a nice amount of view range. Look, they reveal a nice area, so they're excellent units for guard units because they can even get away, and they're nippy. They can get away even before they're killed if you're fast enough to notice. Say enemy infantry start approaching, you know, as long as you know you can get it out of there. Rangers are nippy, like APCs, but they see a lot further. Now, my opponent's still ahead in army value. It's 17 to 18,000. And this group of units, I've discovered he's got something here because I sent a rifleman to check. And there's my force of medium tanks. I've got more tanks than I would have if I was than when I use Russia, because obviously heavy tanks are more expensive, take longer to build, so I would have a few less. But you know, Allied medium tanks, they are use them for screening just the same as Soviet heavy tanks, but they've got different uses. Their mobility allows you to use them for eco raids and base raids and keep moving, and they're faster than Allied heavy tanks. I mean Soviet heavy tanks. There you go, we've got an engagement. My opponent's using a lot of flamethrowers, so I've got to get those tanks up front. I've decided to go for some crushes. Now that's turned that. I lost some tanks there, but managed to overwhelm the enemy. He's guarding this oil derrick, but not capturing it. My engineer did move over this way. I kind of lost track of him. And I've moved between the enemy's structures. That's not a wise decision, but I think I've got enough. Those flamethrowers are doing some nice damage. See, I like to move my tanks up the front line rather than just leaving them in the same place, because they go in and out of attack range of enemy units. So, you know, enemy units are firing at one tank and then another as they drive past, and if they're not destroying them, it's wasted damage, because a unit's just as strong. It can do just as much damage no matter how much health it's got. That was an ideal placement of the flame tower. You got the building between you and the enemy units and your base defence. That was an ideal placement. There's an engineer. I'm not sure if I trained a second one because I've got spies now. But, you know, there is one, and he's running into the enemy infantry of the only place on the map he doesn't want to have been. That's where he was. I've got medics working on my troops, doing some healing. I've overrun the enemy's main base, but he's got an expansion here. There's my spies. Oh, it looks like I've held them back. And so the same thing doesn't happen as it did with the engineers. But they're still running past barracks. That's not a wise move. But they're disguised as rocket troops, so they won't stand out. But obviously they will now. So yeah, I've taken him down to 0 cash. I didn't need money myself, I earned a bit. When this happens, don't let your primary production come out in the middle of the enemy units, because you're just wasting infantry production like that. And his little counter-attack, he's found my tech centre straight away. So I placed a pillbox to slow him down, which was not ideal placement, but it was just to slow them down and buy time for the tech centre. And here come my forces. And my opponent's still expanding with the MCV. And I've got a Tanya. There's more spies for infiltrations, but I've got a helicopter and my opponent's MCV's here, look. So I think there you go, Tanya's using C4 on the enemy structures. And at some point I'll notice this MCV. I wonder what I was doing. Oh yeah, look, my attention's on the infiltrations. And Tanya, I moved her away because she can be killed by your own units firing at a structure. I've seen it happen quite a few times. If you send Tanya to destroy a structure and you order a bunch of units to attack the same structure, there you go, I've destroyed it with the Apache longbows. But then she can run and use C4 on the structure and your own units will fire on the same structure and it can kill Tanya. I've seen it happen quite a few times. It's in some of my posts, in fact, where she was caught out by, you know, friendly fire. And it's in some of my posts. So I'm building air units. There's some Apache longbows and, you know, protecting my assets. But my opponent is done. He's still fighting, he's got units, he's still producing, but obviously it's, you know, it's over by this point. So he's still playing correctly, fighting properly. So he's doing what he's done well, I think. It was a decent game. I've captured all that. And that's the end of it. There you go. That was the first game. I'm going to add a second replay to this post, but I'll just go through the army graphs and charts. You see, my opponent was ahead. He had a larger army than me. And then it was just a single large engagement that turned it around. It was here, this engagement here. And yeah, that's what did it. He lost too many units in that engagement there. Here's the earnings graph. Not bad. Not bad, really, for my opponent. I mean, he did okay. And mine was up and down a little bit as well, look. But, you know, I had more money than I needed. Right, my finishing army. I've got some Apaches. 2 Apache longbows. I've got 12 medium tanks. Got a Ranger and Tanya, spies. And engineer, medics, standard infantry, and plenty of them. I've got a 33,000 army value at the end. I killed 197 units. My opponent killed 102. I lost a structure, but my opponent lost 21. I managed to destroy 65,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent destroyed 22,000 credits worth of mine. I've got my GPS satellite counting down. So that reveals the enemy positions underneath the shroud. You get markers, little symbols where the enemy assets are to tell you what they are. Like you'll see a building symbol where the enemy's buildings are and units and stuff. So it shows you where the enemy's assets are under the shroud for a certain amount of time. It's an excellent ability. Still producing, standard stuff. Economy, got 9 ore trucks. Spent 90,000. My opponent spent 76,000, I think that is. Got plenty of cash left each. So he did well after the infiltrations to earn money back. I was at 30 actions per minute. My opponent was at 22. There's your scores and stats. So there's the first game. I'll go to a second game. This was probably, I think this was one of the last games I played. Yeah, this one.
Battle control
And
initialized.
it's a 1v1, and we're on Greener Pastures for this game. My opponent, let's see what we're using. My opponent's using England. I'm using Russia for this game. In my standard red. This map, we've got these oil derricks in the corners here. They're at a fair distance from where you start. But there's the closer oil derricks here and the hospital in the centre. So there is usually, this is contested, usually the centre. Most players should send some presence into the centre just to check what's going on, even if they don't mean to take it or hold it, just to make sure and see what's going on, whether the enemy has assets there. So I've trained a rifle and then my engineer, but he's not moving forward just yet. I've detonated the barrels because I don't want the enemy to detonate them and kill the engineer while he's in the middle of his work. Yeah, my opponent sent rifles straight for me, look. Yeah, he's gathering rifles, and I'm doing the same, but I'm closer to my base, so, and I've got the view range of the oil derrick, but you can't use it as much as on some maps, because you can't stand behind it, obviously. You would have to move your units here or here to use its view range in that sense, but you can still make use of it. And I'm trying to keep my engineer safe. My opponent, has he got an engineer yet? And I've moved forward a bit, look. My engineer's close behind here. And look, I haven't got a clue the enemy's there. Neither of us have, and he's opened up straight away, look. And I've run into a bit of trouble. It was lucky I managed to pull the engineer back in time. To be fair, I was lucky I saved anything. But I saw straight away that was no good, that situation. As soon as they opened up, they got loads of them. Got loads of my rifles. But my opponent's captured their first oil derrick. Yeah, no one's gone for the corners yet. Looks like he's going for the hospital. That is a good choice, because capturing this neutral asset in the centre gives you that view range in the centre. So, you know, it's useful, because if I'm attacking later in the game, the quickest route to the enemy is from my home base is this way, and you can see units moving past. So any information you get, obviously it's useful. So it's a useful asset, capturing the hospital, even if you're allies. And obviously allies have medics for healing, but it's still useful for the view range. And to use it as like a defensive point early in the game, where you can use its view range for your rifles and stuff. But my opponent's moved forward. He hasn't got much. They haven't got much. He's moved forward. He's brought his engineer, but they have no scout vehicle with them. So that's a mistake. But it looks like I'm obviously, yeah, there you go, I've noticed. And I was like, there's no rockets there. Nothing. What are you doing? But he managed to capture this by the looks of it. He's got it just in time. Let's see if he earns out of it. Hurry up and take it back. There you go, he got 100 credits. He should get, if you get credits while it's being captured, he should get 100 more, because I think it's the same amount of time as for a capture as it is between the oil derrick counter. There you go, so he should get it just before I capture. I was correct. But I got one straight after. That was weird. But yeah, it was interesting to watch that, because I didn't know if it still carried on counting for if you're being captured, and it still counts for whoever owns it. But like I say, it is about the same amount of time, 13 seconds as far as I know. Every 13 seconds you get 100 credits, and an engineer captures a structure in 13 seconds. I think. Or roughly that. And I've moved my vehicle in because I've seen there are no rockets. And I've got my engineer safely inside the APC, moving forward, trying not to let the enemy see all my units and where they are. Now, these need to turn back, these units, that's right. I did wonder if he had any rifles around here, but no, there aren't. So, yeah, look, I'm sending rifles, that's why. I'm surprised I didn't send one this way, to be fair. Now, there's a difference in the army values. My opponent's moved forward to expand there. I have as well. That looks like I've got my refinery ready to place, but I'm delaying because of what's happening. There you go. Let's see what my opponent's got to place. A refinery. Yeah, there you go, he's placed it. It's got a camo pillbox there. They are good, camo pillboxes, because, you know, they can sometimes attack you and they don't always reveal, you don't always find out where they are. They're a real pain sometimes. And you can put them on hold fire, so they don't reveal their position by firing, but you get the view range and see the enemy coming towards you. And if you do that and you have a few of these around and the enemy have artillery or Tanya, when they do come within range, you can take them off hold fire and pick them off if they survive, because certain units will reveal them if they get close. But camo pillboxes on hold fire is a useful, interesting thing. And you could also take the rifleman out and put a rocket soldier in, or have no one in and just use them for the view range and get the 100 credits for the rifleman back. But my opponent has got his army out away from his base, and he's only just started to produce tanks as well, so I've hit him where it hurts here with his ore trucks being destroyed rapidly. Now I'm amongst his buildings, so he's got a good chance to do some damage, but he needs to stop there. And my tanks are drawing all the fire now, so that's that. And these tanks are fighting infantry, so they're doomed. Look, there's rocket soldiers as well. Yeah, and I'm capturing that oil derrick here. I'm bringing an MCV forward, and I've got my heavy tank production underway. So my opponent should be saving these assets now. This construction yard and these ore trucks should get out of there. And he should place a barracks and get primary production away from here. But maybe he's accepted the situation, I don't know. We'll see. Let's have a look at production. Yeah, I'm picking out vital targets. He's still building training units, but he's not placing the refinery. So yeah, it's that's that. I'm guessing. No, he is still placing it. Fair enough. This sized army isn't too much. You could build up a small force and stop it. Obviously, I've got other assets, but, you know, my opponent wouldn't know that. So, and I'm capturing the refinery with my engineer, because I've captured that, and I've got a radar dome placed, and the Tesla coil put me into low power. But I want barracks, and when I have a barracks, I'll place it here, and then I can train thieves on site. And the enemy has he's got 2 grand, my opponent, so it's worth taking it. And I've got the chokehold in effect because I'm repeating the capture. Just order the engineer to capture the refinery again before the bar fills up, and then the enemy won't be able to sell it, but you're able to infiltrate. And there you go, I've got plenty of his cash there. Just trained another engineer because why not? Go and finish off the main base, and then I decided to send these forces to check if he had an expansion, and he did. There's more infiltrations. I'm still getting more than 500 out of them. I guess they can't spend, to be fair. My opponent's earning, but not spending, really. Not a complete, like, full pace. And there you go, I think I've probably leave that be now and let it capture. Just let the capture bar fill up. There you go, look, yeah, I'm not training any more thieves at the moment. I've seen there's another refinery anyway, but he sold it. That was the right choice. And my opponent's called it, because I've turned up, he went with helipads and stuff, so it looks like he stuck to his build order, even though he was on his last legs over here. Now, if that happens, you can't stick to your build order and place helipads and base defences, because I'm going to arrive very soon, so what you need to do is get barracks and try and destroy the army that's a problem for you. You know, either decide if you should resist them at the home base, placing base defences, or if you just cut your losses, save what assets you can, and, you know, retreat over here and train your infantry over here and things. It's just a decision between which one of those you should do, or to which extreme. But yeah, my opponent built a helipad, and that wouldn't have been any use. 5 helicopters wouldn't have helped. But the same amount of credits worth of infantry and tanks may. Well, anyway, that's the end of that game for you. And I got the some tech underway. I've got some more thieves, just in case. But there's the army graph. My opponent was behind, and after these early defeats over here, he never recovered in army value. And when I did attack, the forces he had were separate from his tanks, and I cut between them. So it was just really bad being caught out of position. So that explains that army graph. It was just a shame. There's the earnings. My opponent was just a bit behind, but, you know, doing okay. There's my army. I've got some tanks, alright. Thieves, flamers, engineers, and some infantry. It's a 24,000 army value. My opponent lost 15 structures. I didn't lose any. My opponent killed 34. I killed 101. So it was a shame they weren't effective the way they fought, because their tanks and infantry were separate for a start. It just goes that way, you know, it happens. But, yeah, my opponent destroyed 5,000 credits worth of my assets. I destroyed 33,000, but it wouldn't normally be that extreme. It's just more extreme. It appears more and sounds more extreme than it is. They did better than that makes it sound, to be fair, and these things can happen anyway. But I'm still producing basics, defences. I'm assuming that's a heavy tank, yep. And economy, I've got my 2 oil derricks still. I've got 1 there and captured the enemies. I've got 7 ore trucks. My opponent earned 38,000, so he did okay for earnings. I earned 70,000. And yeah, he's got a grand left, my opponent, but I built up a lot of cash. So, yeah, it's best to spend it, but, you know, there's nothing wrong with some cash. But my opponent was at 18 actions per minute. I was at 26. There are your scores and charts and stuff. I did actually just reach low power, but I could have just turned the power supply off to the radar dome. It wouldn't matter if the game had continued. But there's your scores and charts and graphs. I hope you enjoyed those 2 games. If you like what you saw, give us a sub and a like. And take good care of yourselves. Until next time, thank you very much, and goodbye.
Battle control terminated.